We're going to learn how to simplify rational expressions. Now, we need to recall that a rational expression is an algebraic fraction whose numerator and denominator are both polynomials. So, in this activity, we are also going to develop algebraic skills to simplify these expressions or these fractions. So, let's remember what it means to reduce a fraction. So reducing any fraction means to divide the numerator and the denominator by a common factor. So if we have a fraction like 4/6, we can reduce this fraction if we divide the numerator and the denominator by a common factor to 4/6. Let's think about 2. So if we divide 4 by 2, we get a 2. If we divide 6 by 2, we get a 3. So the simplification gives us the fraction 2/3. So we're going to work on the same way to reduce a rational expression. We're going to factor the numerator and denominator completely so we can see what factors they have and choose common factors. And once we have chosen the common factor, we're going to cancel the common factors. Okay, so let's do the first example, and we're going to have a fraction, a rational expression that is given to us by 4x minus 8 divided by 10x minus 20. Okay, this is a rational expression because the numerator and the denominator are polynomials. So let me go with the first step. I'm going to factor the numerator and the denominator completely. So if I look at the top expression, the expression in the numerator, I know I can factor the 4. Yes, the 4 is a common factor, and I will get x minus 2. Yes, 4 divided by 4 is 1, that's the coefficient here, and 8 divided by 4 is 2. Okay, so now in the denominator, I know that the common factor seems to be 10. Yes, now if I factor 10 out, I will get x minus 2. Okay, so the numerator has 2 factors, the denominator has 2 factors. The common factor here is x minus 2. So I can cancel the common factor, but also if you look at 4 and 10, you can see that 4 and 10 share a common factor. 4 and 10 share a common factor of 2, so I can divide by 2. 4 divided by 2 is 2, 10 divided by 2 is 5. So all I have left after all these cancellations is 2/5. So this rational expression is equals to 2/5. Okay, let's do another example. In this example, example 2, we are going to simplify a much more complicated rational expression. So we have now 5x squared minus 5 divided by x squared minus 4x plus 3. Okay? Remember, the first step is to factor. So let's see what we can factor. Let's go right here, and if we look at the numerator, I can see a common factor. Okay? If I get 5 as a common factor, I get x squared minus 1 left. Correct? So now let me look at the denominator. The denominator is a trinomial, so I can factor the trinomial as the product of 2 binomials. I need to choose 2 numbers that multiply, give me 3. So think about 3 and 1, or negative 3 and negative 1, right? And added give me negative 4. Obviously, these 2 numbers are the numbers negative 3 and negative 1. Negative 3 times negative 1 gives me 3. Negative 3 plus negative 1 gives me negative 4. Okay? Now, let me look at the top. I think I can factor the top a little more. Now, If you remember, x squared minus 1 can be factored as the product of two binomials. Remember that this is the difference of two perfect squares. So it would be x minus 1 times x plus 1, and in the denominator I'm going to have x minus 3 times x minus 1. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cancel now the common factors. That's the second step. Cancel common factors. Okay? So let me look at the common factors, and I can see that x minus 1 and x minus 1 seem to be common. Yes, and then the expression is just left to be represented as 5 times x plus 1 divided by x minus 3. I can leave the expression like that. I don't need to distribute the number. This is a perfectly good answer. Okay, let's do another example. So I'm going to go to example 3. So in example 3, I have 2x plus 6 divided by 10. Okay, this is a little different. I mean, I can see that the 10 can be simplified with the 2 and the 6, but I cannot cancel the 10 with any common factor of 2 and 6 unless I have a factor. So the first thing again that I have to do is I need to factor. If we do not have factors, we cannot simplify. So factor at the top. If you factor the top, the common factor is 2, and we are left with 2 times x plus 3, and in the denominator I have 10. Now I can factor the 2 and the 10 by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 10 divided by 2 is 5. I'm canceling, right? Cancel common factors. Okay? That's what I'm doing right now. So 2 divided by 2 is 1. 10 divided by 2 is 5. And the final answer for this is x plus 3. Let me make a line here to separate the steps. Divided by 5. Okay? Okay, let me go with example 4. Example 4 is a little more complicated. I have 3x minus 9. I have a binomial at the top, and in the denominator I have a binomial that seems to be a difference of perfect squares. Remember, the first step is factor, the second step is cancel common factors. So here I come. The common factor at the top seems to be 3. Yes, I get 3 times x minus 3. In the denominator, since I have a difference of perfect squares, that would be x minus x plus. Okay? So simplify. The 9 is a perfect square, so it will be x minus 3, x plus 3. Yes? And now I can go ahead and simplify the common factors. So here it goes, cancel x minus 3 with x minus 3, since they're both common factors. And what I'm getting now is 3 divided by x plus 3. I cannot simplify anything else. These 3, if you're thinking about these 3 and these 3, they cannot be simplified. They cannot be simplified because this 3 right here is not a factor. This 3 is a term. And we do not simplify terms. We have to have factors. Okay? So let's go with example. So right here we did example 4. We're going to do here example 5. Example 5, let's go with 7x squared minus 14x divided by x squared plus x minus 6. Okay? Now let's try to see what we can do at the top. The top we have a binomial, and neither one of those terms are perfect, but I can see that I can factor, right? Factor the numerator and the denominator. So let me factor at the top. I think I have a common factor of 7x that multiplies x minus 2. Correct? The denominator is a trinomial, so I'm going to have two binomials, and I need two numbers that multiply give me negative 6. So they're going to have different signs since the number is negative. Added give me positive 1. Yes? Now the factors of 6 are 6 and 1. Obviously, I cannot add these numbers and get positive 1, but I have the 3 and the 2. Positive 3, negative 2, or negative 3, positive 2. Okay? Obviously, if I take 3 and negative 2, 3 times negative 2, I get the negative 6, and 3 minus 2, I get the 1 coefficient in here. Okay? So now what do I need to do? What is the second step? Remember that the second step is to cancel. Okay? Cancel common factors. Now we're going to look at the top and look at the bottom, and we're going to look for common factors. Okay, so what is the common factor now? The common factor here, x minus 2 and x minus 2, is going to cancel, and what I have at the top is 7x, in the denominator is x plus 3. Okay, and that is the final answer. Alright, let's do our last example. So we're going to do example number 6. And example number 6 is as difficult as they can be. 2x minus 15 divided by x squared plus 6x plus 5. Okay? Now remember, these two polynomials are trinomials. They are 1, 2, 3, they are trinomials. 1, 2, 3, they are trinomials. So factor in these trinomials, I'm going to get two binomials in both cases. Okay? So two binomials in those cases. Let's start with the top. So we have to get two numbers of different sign because this is negative, so they're going to have different sign that multiply give me negative 15, right? And added give me positive 2. So multiply has to give me negative 15, right? And added has to give me positive 2. Okay, so what if we take a 5 and a 3? So positive 5 and negative 3, when you multiply, you get negative 15, right? You get a negative 15 right here. And when you add the 5 minus 3, you get a 2 right there. Okay, now let me go for two numbers that multiply give me positive 5 and added give me positive 6. So they're going to have the same sign. Okay, so since multiply gives me positive 5, we have no choice but 5 and 1. Okay, now remember that the second step in this process is to cancel. Okay, so what do I have? I look up and down, and we're going to see the common factors. Here I have a common factor. They're going to be canceled. Okay, so the answer now, I cannot do anything with these two factors. They're left, so the answer is x minus 3 divided by x plus 1. And that is the answer in this particular problem. Okay, so we are finished with simplification of rational expressions.